Assalamu alaikum, Imam Tariq.
Walaikum assalam, brother. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good this morning. I cannot complain at all. It hadn't got hot. It hadn't got hot yet.
I'm
Because
not gonna leave.
the moment it gets hot, I'm gonna start complaining.
Man, I don't know. You might need to not because you need your energy. Because that man, is kicking right around the door. I
It
think we're
is.
gonna have a hot one.
You know
Man,
we're gonna have a hot one, brother.
no, buddy. I straight when as soon as we get through praying Salat the Fajr, since the heat is coming, I'll be out of that door going for my walk.
I know it.
Man,
I know it. Hey, look, if you leave after 10 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna get scalded out there.
well, I be trying to leave about 6 o'clock, and it
I
still
feel
be
you.
getting hot.
I feel you. Assalamu
Man,
alaikum, Imam Adam.
Walaikum assalam. Yes, sir. Y'all talking about hot
I
weather
feel
out
like
there.
about it, man.
Walaikum
Hey,
assalam, brother, man. Tarif.
Yeah, when you think about what our ancestors had to go through from
dude.
daybreak to sunset out there
Yes,
Look,
sir.
and
no, whoa, whoa, whoa,
open,
whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait.
open.
My way my
Woo!
mother, way, hey, way my mother and father told me it was KC in the morning to KC at night.
Yeah, at
Can't see
night.
the can't
That's
see.
what it was. Non-stop. Non-stop.
Yeah,
Man.
I'll look at something on YouTube to remind me in honor of my foreparents.
Dude, let me tell you
Mm.
something. Let me tell you something, Imam Adam BI. You talking to a brother right here that had a hoe in his hand at 5:30 in the morning when he was 10 years old.
Mm.
Looking at turn roads that didn't look like they had no end.
Mm.
Yes, sir, brother.
I've
Well,
been there.
I did some of that, but I wasn't made to do it. Now my two older brothers were made to do it
The,
for the most part, but anyway, that's another story. But I still had to be up because
Yeah, yeah.
my grandmother was one of these type. First thing she'll give, let us know how old she is. So that means if she that age, we can get up at our young age and blah blah do this
Right.
and that. And man, ooh, ooh. And they didn't, and she didn't see overnight for some reason. She would smother the fire in the fireplace. Would not sleep during the night with the fireplace running. So we had to get her early in the morning. Regardless of of course for winter, man, it'd be too cold. We better not get no
Oh
back
yeah.
talk. You couldn't back
Look,
talk, man. Okay, get up there
no
and do
back
that work.
talk. Let me
And
ask you this though. Did she have inside plumbing?
I think when I moved in the house with her, due to the situation that brought me there. I think it was there, if my memory serves
Okay.
me correct.
Okay.
I think it was there by that time. Uh, yeah, I think it was there. But I vaguely remember we having outhouse because I was born in '63,
Mm-hmm.
and so I vaguely remember, and I'm talking about I think that was at my daddy mama's house, 2 bedroom Jim Walter home.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
and,
Dude, Mississippi is famous for Jim Walter homes.
you know that too, yeah. And so, uh, yeah, it was a Jim Walter home, man. So, yeah, but I think a lot. We wasn't starving.
Man, let me
We
tell
didn't
you
have none of
something.
that.
Never missed a meal.
No,
Never missed a meal.
the only
And
thing. Go ahead.
I just remember the only place that had an outhouse when I was a kid growing up was my grandfather's house, my dad's
Mm,
house, father's house. And we
mm,
would go and visit. This was in East Texas. And we would go visit during the Christmas holiday season every year. We would go there. And we always stayed at my grandfather's house. And they had a big house, big cabin out in the woods, but he had an outhouse.
mm.
And if it was a cold winter,
Hmm.
you tried to hold it forever, brother.
Yeah, you try. You try, like you said, emphasis on that. But man, I'm trying to tell you, I remember that. And then, and then let me see. what year was it? I think it was the hurricane hit in 2005, that major hurricane Katrina. It was
Hmm.
between 2005 and 2010. I ended up going to Ethiopia, and as I was approaching all these different, well, it was in-laws' houses. I put it that way. Okay, different
Okay.
people, you know how they entertain you and stuff, and
Right.
everybody want to feed you. But I think now where I was staying at, because I had rented this little nice place, and they had in everything was really that I was accustomed to. But as I started to move about to other places, going to this one where everybody got an attendant. You got can't get in the little gate, it's big old tall entry gate. Knock on it, somebody let you in. So I'm like, go up in there. I'm looking. I'm like, man, I need to relieve myself. So I seen this little area over there, and I said, one, is that it? So as I got in there, and again, everybody wanted features. So I said, look, I need to go, et cetera, et cetera. And they told me where it was at. I say, man, I knew that was it. First thing come to my mind, a snake or a rat or something up in there, right?
Yeah. Right.
Man, I walked up in there, man, you talking about fresh and clean.
Really.
I mean, I had to squat because all of them vegetables like you had to squat, but it was clean. I'm talking about
Okay.
fresh and clean, except the place that I had to rent while I was there for that month. They had the modern day toilets and everything, but that was an experience. I'm like, wow, I ain't seen no outhouse per se since the early '60s when I was born. But the other side of that, we grew everything in the way of vegetables
Oh
uh,
yeah.
that we ate. One family member grew something. We had, you name it, all those staple foods that we ate growing up. We grew them. We had persimmon trees that I don't know who planted them. We had pecan trees. We had apricot trees, and things such as that. And ponds was in the area where we can go and fish.
Fish. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
we didn't really have to go shopping for anything. And of course, during that particular time, we had that swine,
Of
and
course. Everybody raised hogs,
and
man.
so
Everybody
and
raised
so
hogs.
I'm in high school right before I think my junior year in high school, I think, and I'm like, I'm not feeding this thing anymore, okay? And I told my dad, I said, you do what you want to do. I'm not feeding him anymore. I'm surprised I'm still living today after saying that. My dad, he didn't play. He get you when you sleep because he had polio. He couldn't run. Okay. But yeah, he wait till we go to sleep. Like I was telling somebody, my daddy was our fresh Freddy Krueger, from that movie Nightmare on Elm Street. Man, no. But yeah, I would have to say overall, I'm thankful to Allah for that. I had good, strong male role models. Of course, my daddy was there. His two brothers was on the site up there and on the property too. So we couldn't do anything crazy and get away with it. That was just gonna be it. Cause wasn't no sheriff department, wasn't no what a Department of Human Service or whoever they were at that time, if they existed at that time. Wasn't nobody finna come down there and get us for getting no whipping. No, that didn't happen.
Now you
None
you gonna
whatsoever.
get if you call them, you're gonna get another whooping.
Yeah. We didn't get come taken out of the house. That nobody got arrested for child abuse and got them whelps on your arms and stuff from getting them switches and stuff. No, man, you can't hardly do nothing today. Folks shouldn't come get the child and you're getting a charge quick. But overall, it's nice. But again, back to where we started. I remember some years ago, I was talking to Imam Rafa about scheduling Imam Muhammad to come here. So Rafa got back with me. He said, Imam said he ain't coming down there during no summer months from that heat. He's coming to the summer months of it. If anything, no, buddy. Man, man, man. You can't even find no coolness under shade here when it's hot.
Nah, it gets hot down there. It gets hot here in Texas too. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
sometimes it's brutal. Assalamu alaikum, brother Hassan. How are you, my friend?
You know, we got all these people.
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. How are you?
We're doing well, doing well. I think that the issue that you and I corresponded about earlier this week, I think that is solved now.
Okay, inshallah, I'll go take a look at it.
Okay, all right. Just, take your time on that, but I think we got all that stuff worked out.
Okay, Alhamdulillah.
So, yeah, we're good. Good on that. Brother Adam, thank you for taking care of that issue with Donation Pro.
Oh, no problem, man.
Yeah. Did they send you a receipt, right?
They should. All I did was make sure that the debit card was on there.
Right.
So I don't
Yeah, I'm
know if
just
they actually.
thinking, but your email, I know your email address.
Yeah,
The
I'm listed with them. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So I'm just because I sent you what they sent me, but I was hoping, obviously, that they send it directly to you
yeah. I'm not sure
as well.
why I didn't get that. But I was seeing if it was being spammed or blocked by me on this
Hmm.
end. I don't know, but
Okay.
I got email saying that the credit card changed, so something's coming through
Yeah.
now. Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of something's coming through. So yeah, it's always better if the communication is direct. I
yeah,
mean, if they send it to me, I send it to you, but it's better if it's just directly to you.
yeah. And what I did, what I actually did was log on to the website, and I thought I'd had difficulty, but I guess I had done it before, so I was able to log in and make the change.
Alhamdulillah. So everything's good in the great state of North Carolina.
Yeah, we had the Democratic Party had a convention in Fayetteville, state convention,
Wow. Wow. Okay.
and but that's a whole different discussion we can have on that one. And we have in our state party they have the LGBT community has made some inroads. So I'm looking at it. I said, well, God, I can see why they're having problems with African American Christians, you know, and Caucasian Christians. So we'll see how that transforms because they have a big presence there.
Well, I mean, the reason they have a presence is that nobody was taking care of their issues.
No, I
And
agree.
I'm not talking about I'm
No.
not talking about the overarching issues that get everybody upset because really that's a small part of it. It's just general rights that are, like what you were talking about on Thursday morning.
Hmm.
Just basic constitutional rights,
Yeah,
protections.
yeah,
People weren't standing up for that on their
yeah.
behalf, just as them being citizens. The moral stuff, I don't think not too many people have an argument about the moral stuff. I'm going to say well over 80% of people think that's wrong,
Yep.
right? I don't care what you call yourself, you think that's wrong.
Hmm.
But the constitutional stuff, the stuff that you can see every day, nobody was stepping up and saying, I don't like what you do sexuality wise, but I'm going to protect your constitutional rights.
And wasn't it great? I found it interesting that I wasn't necessarily talking about the brother that called in, but he was the main one.
Oh yeah. Oh
He was
yeah.
one of the original ones.
Dude. I spend time on the phone with him from time to time.
Yeah.
He's in love with Candace Owens, by the way.
Oh man.
But he's a funny brother.
He is,
And he bring
man.
the whole state, he bring the whole state of California down.
So that was interesting when he logged on, and
Oh yeah.
I wasn't even expecting that. So Lord have mercy.
Now he's been sticking his nose into a lot of tents lately.
Yeah,
I noticed him. So I mean, he's a good brother at heart.
yeah.
He's like this lady that she was from another town and used to have these fourth Sunday get-togethers where different churches would visit. And my mother got to know this lady. She was from like Roscoe, Texas, some little town, smaller than even my little town. And man, she was so funny, and she would make my mother laugh. My mother told me one day about Miss So and So. She said she good people, but she just got a bad understanding. And that's what he kind of reminds me of. I think he's a good person, but he has bad understanding.
Mm, yes, sir. Yeah, well, it's we got four on here now.
Yeah, we wait on a couple more,
Okay.
maybe to pop on. I can't understand unless they're still they're still putting the solar panels on Imam Talib's house.
Hmm.
He should be on. Now, Rabani's traveling. Rabani was on his way to Ethiopia. I think he
Okay.
left Friday morning, Friday midday, somewhere around in there, that he was
Hmm.
leaving going to Ethiopia. So he's probably trying to find a signal if he's even up, if he's recovered
Yeah, I know how
from
that is.
that trip.
I'm trying to do a tax return for a couple that are from the U.S. Well, the brother's African, but he was a U.S. resident. And his wife is from North Carolina, and I've been doing the taxes for about 5 years, maybe six, and they're in Tanzania, and I've been trying to get information from them and email answers. So it's been a struggle trying to do. We were on the Zoom call yesterday, and that worked out all right. But I can understand traveling, and especially in East Africa, and in Africa in general, and having been able to connect with them. That's
Well, I
what.
mean, that first 2 days, like this would be Rabani's second day there, you're still recovering jet lag wise.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I know Rabani's tough. He gonna tell you how tough he is, but man, that the body's rhythms, it takes you about 72 hours to get right when you
Hmm.
travel that far a distance. You know, what is that? Seven, almost eight time zones?
Yeah, I know. I know. Tanzania is 7 hours
Yeah,
further.
I think Ethiopia is the same as Tanzania as far as the time zone. Pretty sure.
Hmm.
That's an entire night's sleep time difference.
Hmm.
That takes a couple of days to get over, in my judgment. Takes me.
Hmm.
So, Assalamu alaikum, brother Omar.
Walaikum assalam. Hi, everyone.
Doing well, my brother.
Brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
So, brother Adam, go ahead and open us up this morning, and we'll get down to business and get out of here.
Okay, bro. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
I mean, welcome there, Imam Talib. We were all about to head down your way and help you get those solar panels
Ha!
completely installed.
No, they on, man.
Well, that's good. Good to hear that. Is that on your main house or is that on one of your other
The,
properties?
it's on the it's on my the main house, and and a garage.
Okay.
I think I ended up with 51 panels.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it'll inshallah I'll start to see some benefit from it. They got a couple things they I gotta wait on the electric company to activate it. I think they running maybe on a 2 week schedule. So I would tell you before the end of July uh, I'll be starting to save.
Okay.
And it was I opted I opted for the free one that that will get me a little bit of money, but the bulk of it goes to the company that installed it. They whatever tax credits may still be out there, and uh, the twice yearly payment that comes out, um, and they are actually my tenants um, in the building. So in the commercial building. So and they put solar panels. They put solar panels on there maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I told you they getting ready to leave because they bought a 16,000 square foot office space and warehouse, um, maybe about 10 minutes from this location, from the location that they were at. And so they'll be moving out sometime this year. But the solar panels they put on, they're just going to leave them. And when so when those checks come in, he told me just to keep them. So we'll be all right. They
Yeah, it
did a
sounds
good
like
job. They did a good job too, man. They made shit. My garage looks like a piece of artwork.
okay.
Yeah, it looks like a piece of artwork. They got a couple things they need to come back and do because they did some kind of new install that prevented them, particularly on a flat roof, which is where they seem to have done it more. Um, they did this sort of foam install that this foam hardens up so that they don't have to do any roof penetrations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on an A-frame roof, like the angle part of my house, they didn't do that. But on a couple of the flat roofs, and even on my two domers, they use this foam substance, and they're gonna come back and try to straighten that out because when you driving and sometimes walking down the street and you see it, it just looks ugly.
Mm.
And and
Okay.
and and this ain't me saying it. They agreed. So
So from an economic family homeowner's standpoint, what percentage of people in and around your neighborhood would you say have solar panels on their home?
percentage wise, I would tell you, and I'm gonna just say a 5 block area. I tell you, it's probably less than 2%.
So what would be, again, I mean, this is family, you own your own home. What would be the obstacles of doing what you just did?
Um, well, let me preface this by saying this. Well, and that's a good question. because I'm going to need a good answer, because this company provides you with an app. And one of the things, it provides you with an app, and it does things like help you to monitor, your electrical use and see how much your savings is, and, all of that kind of stuff. But the part I'm most attracted to with this app is that if I stand in front of you and get certain information from you, your name, email address, phone number, things of that nature, and you get solar, I get $600.
Okay, so that's a bird.
If I
You get
send you
you
a
get a
link,
bird dog. You get a bird dog fee.
yeah, and look, and if I send you a link, because you don't want to give the information to me, if I send you a link and you fill it out and send it in to them, I get $300. So to answer your question, I would tell you the main obstacle that I face, and I would tell you that most people face, is just change. Um, I've always been able to pay the electric bill. Never had to sweat. Should I pay this or pay that? So the and my disposition towards utilities and things of that nature is, I'm willing to sacrifice dollar for dollar just for my own comfort, to be able to come home and my house is warm. Not that I got to get it warm, it's already warm. Same thing, in the summertime, I want to be able to come home to a cool down house. Now, that has changed somewhat because I've got like one, two, three, four. I've got 5 mini splits in different parts of my house. Some people call them ductless heat pumps. And those units work so well that I can come home on a hot day and turn them on in whatever room that I'm in. And I would tell you, it takes less than 2 minutes, 3 at the most, to cool the room that I'm in. But I would tell you it's change. Just the time that it took for me to review the contract, to make sure that free was free, and understanding, looking down the line, how it was going to be absolutely important in the process, that I made sure my roof was in good condition to accept the panels. They did their inspections. They gave me a report. And I acted on that report. So the main part of my house, roof was solid. And I kind of sensed that. But they showed some wear on a flat rubberized roof I have over my porch and my garage, which I knew were going to be issues. The decision that I had to make was, even though the panels are covering the majority of my garage, and they're covering the majority of the porch, where I really wouldn't have to be concerned about roof leaking. If it ever did leak, I would have to remove the solar panels in order to repair it. And contractually, it would have cost me $150 per panel to remove it and put it back. So I made the decision, and what took the process a little longer was I made the decision to paint the rubber roof on the porch, which it needed, because you could see where it was getting down to the rubber. You could no longer see a lot of aluminum paint. You could see a lot of the rubber. And then I just redid the garage roof. And while I didn't have to do it, it was the decision that I made that's going to save me thousands of dollars down the road.
You have no idea how wise a decision that was. Take it
No, I
from
don't.
somebody that used to work in an industry where the PSI of liquids was off the chart,
Okay.
and you think you have a tight enough seal
Mm-hmm.
that you can keep liquids out.
Mm-hmm.
Liquids will fool you.
Yes, sir.
Moisture will fool the heck out of you. It can appear in places that you didn't even know there were places.
Right. Right.
Moisture is just something else. So yeah, you made the right decision
Yeah.
on that. So
Yeah.
I would like you, and I know you're going to do this anyway, to track over the next 12 to 18 months your savings, overall performance,
Mm-hmm.
all of that, because I'm just sitting here thinking about other people in our community who are
Right.
homeowners, that if it's beneficial to you, and free is free, as you say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's 100% free, but as free can get. Sounds like the deal that you have. As
Right.
close to 100% free as you can get. There's a lot of other people that could benefit from programs like
Mm-hmm.
that, opportunities.
Omar
Oh,
got his hand up,
yes.
but
Go
let
ahead,
me say this.
Omar.
Let me say this real quick. Free is not free everywhere, because one of the sales people in there lives in Maryland, and he does not have solar panels because the juice wasn't going to be worth the squeeze. His house wasn't really designed where he could accept solar panels, and the direction where he could put the most solar panels, that where the like, I think it's a southern exposure, um he didn't really have that. So even though he's been selling them for maybe 10 years, he doesn't have them on his own home. Go ahead, Omar.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. So I wanted to ask a couple of questions. One, does DC allows net metering, meaning that the access that you are generating from your system goes back on the grid and you get a one-for-one payment from that? That's one question. The
Yes.
second question, are you using a battery storage system that is connected with your solar system to allow that energy to be stored during emergencies, power outages, et cetera?
The second question, I'd have to go back and ask them about that. Because I don't want to tell you, yes, I know what you're referring to. Because I just came from a seminar a couple of months ago, where the executive director for the Howard Theater Foundation spoke about issues that they were having with their power. And long story short, they ended up getting solar panels with this battery backup that that is saving them tons of money. And because of the size of this theater, how the seminar that I was going to was sponsored by, excuse me, was sponsored by DC Green Bank. And they funded this battery backup for the Howard Theater. And
Yeah, they
so,
basically did a demonstration site to show how it can work, right?
yes, and well,
Uh,
the guy came, the executive director came and spoke to us about all the process that they had to go through. And one of the things that was the the battery backup was not anything that was proposed by the electric company.
because they don't want that.
No, they don't.
That's the key. That's the
Yeah,
key when you're using solar as
yes,
power generation,
right,
is that power has to be stored
yes,
for you to be able to use in the
that's right.
future, or use any, right now how the system is set up. As long as the sun is shining,
Yes,
it is providing power to your home. But at
yes,
night it is not, right? Because
right,
you had no way of capturing and storing that energy where
right,
it can be fed back to the system that powers your home at night.
right,
So definitely the power company does not want people to know that the key to using solar is being able to store that power
right,
and sell it back to the grid, because
right.
they do not want, because that in true is when your electric bill is nearing zero. It's not
Yes, yes,
absolutely zero, but it is nearing zero.
yes,
And they do not want that. They
right,
want people to feel, fuzzy and warm inside, saying we
yes,
got solar on our roof.
right,
But
right.
the true empowerment, they're leaving out key pieces around
Battery,
battery
right,
storage, as
right,
well as selling excess energy back to the grid.
right. Now we do that. That first question you asked, the answer is yes. Um, once our meter, which I can actually go out and see. Once they act, right now the system is not activated, but once it is activated, I'll be able to see um, not only on the app, but sometimes if you if I was to put my house on like full power right now, like turn on all the air conditioners, everything electrical, I've got it on and running. You'll see the meter out there. I mean, it's turning, and the more electricity you're using, uh, it turns even faster. Once they activate this power grid, these solar panels, you will still see that same movement, but it won't be as fast. Eventually, what I will see at my meter, and I've seen it at others, so I know it works. The meter, that dial that is turning clockwise inside of your meter, will, as you're building up these credits, when it gets to its lowest point, where you have built up so much, that meter will literally start turning counterclockwise. And that's when you start receiving monies. Now, initially, um, in reading my contract, um, the installer is going to get the bulk of the payments that come, from the savings, but we are to anticipate smaller checks, particularly when that meter starts turning backwards. And I will, once it comes online, I'll let us know about that. Like I said, it might be a couple of weeks before they're able to get out here and activate everything. Well, actually, it's going to be activated remotely, but I was told they're running a couple, 3 weeks behind. So I'm anticipating by at least sometime in the month of July, the system will be turned on. But the answer to your first question is yes. In the District of Columbia, we are allowed to sell our credits back to Pepco. And I know down at the commercial building where we do have solar panels, let me see, this is June, May and June, the utility bill, and let me make sure I'm telling you right, because Pepco, so we got, all right, May, May and June, there's two floors. There's two floors at this commercial building, separately metered. They paid less than $50 in May and less than $50 in June. To be exact, $40.60 is what it cost them on both floors. So I'm talking 2,000 square feet on one and 1,250 on the other. And their electric bill was $40.60. And that's compared to bills that they were getting prior to them putting the panels on. That was summertime, it was $300-400 a month. It might be $350 upstairs and $275 downstairs. But now they're down to $40. In April, the downstairs paid $56. So I mean, they now that's interesting. Downstairs was $56. Upstairs it was $260. But then the following month, everything dropped down to $40. So, I mean, if I could only figure out how we can do the same thing with gas. So when the wintertime rolls around, my gas bill doesn't scare me. Because I got radiated heat. So, and I love it. But man, sometimes on them cold nights, you string 9 or 10 of them together, you can best believe you're gonna be looking at a $500, heating bill. Especially in my case, because we pretty much work from home, so we got bills, and if we can get them reduced, I mean, we looking for ways, to do that. I now they gave me a price on buying the system and showed me a chart. Showed me a chart of how much I would be able to recover from my investment, and how that would come to me. Um, and I made a decision to go with the free one, only because, and I'm kind of making a lot of decisions like this now, particularly when it comes to big ticket items. Um, I just kind of felt at my age, I wasn't trying to go into no $50,000 in debt. Pulling that money together, paying it out to them. And yes, I would have got that money back. But I took a look at how long it would have been before I recovered the investment. And it was anywhere from, if I remember correctly, it might have been 10 years. And I still got, I'll let us know another time, because I still got the contract proposal here, to see what it was. But they were real good about breaking down, how I would be recovering my investment. But instead, that money is going to them, and giving those systems out the way that they did, particularly when the tax credits were available to them, is how last year they reported gross income over $30 million. So
I got a comment.
more power to them. Yes, sir.
Let's take tax credits out of the equation since they expired in December 31, 2025.
Right,
There are no more federal tax credits
right,
for solar panels
right.
or anything, because those things expired. So
Mm-hmm. Does that
uh,
go to electric cars too?
I hadn't checked on that, but I
Yeah,
do know that
but I do know the
well,
tax
there
credit.
was electric cars that had to be produced in the United States, and so
Right,
that was
that's right.
Yes,
That's right.
yes.
You're right.
They all expired when Trump rescinded the executive orders, rescinded the laws that Biden pushed out with the infrastructure bill.
right.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, he had a. That's right. No, you're right. So those tax credits are gone.
My question on the tax credits, Omar, Adam, especially you guys may know this better than anybody else on the call. If you had purchased tax credits from some other entity prior to, say, January 2026, is there any kind of a grandfather clause that would allow you to use those tax credits in the future?
Now, the tax credits expiration was for new stuff
Okay.
that occurred after December 31, 2025.
Is
Right.
that new installation or new manufacturing? I mean, how is it worded?
Well, in other words, after December 31, you can't generate tax credits.
Right.
Right, but a lot of people
Now, if you had
purchase
some
tax credits
that you
before.
carried over,
Right.
those might be okay, but there's no new tax credits, my
Right.
understanding.
Okay. Okay.
Right. That's right. That's my understanding too.
Because there were a
There are
lot of
no
tax
new ones.
credits. Yeah, there were a lot of tax credits that were sold. Companies either, I don't know how they generate them, but there was a potential for those tax credits to be purchased by another entity to be used, for the same purpose. And, lobbyists write those rules. They're very hard to understand. So
Yeah, always
I,
are.
I've never really tried to fully understand them, because it's just so convoluted. But I'm just wondering if there are people out there that are sitting on tax credits
If they
that
are, they still good, because it's only, my understanding is it was only new. So,
Well, if a company has tax credits and can't use them, that means they didn't have income to offset it against.
right.
I mean, it's not like you decide when you use them.
right.
So
It is a credit. You got
yeah, and it's
when
I
you
know for
put it that way.
individual, these are non these credits are not what's the word I want to say? They're not refundable. I think the word.
Right.
Right.
They have no other
Right.
value other
Yeah.
Right.
than right. Right. I get it.
So if a company's sitting on them and he hasn't been sweating his representatives, that's a poor company.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah,
Because
I
it
think I'm gonna be happy with him.
sounds like a good deal. I
Yeah.
mean, from what you've explained, it sounds like an
And
excellent.
truth be told, it was my wife that pressed me into it. So because like I said, I mean, I sometimes I can be resistant to change because everything is working. Because and the deal is, and you had asked this earlier, and this is going to have to be part of my truthful answer to people that I want to try and get these referral dollars from. Um, Unless you are just the type of person who the salesperson points to a line and says, sign here, initial here, you're going to have to take your time to review the documents, making sure that you understand what it is that you're about to sign. In other words, I went through a process. And once I got the contract, I remember, sitting down and reading it. I passed it on to my wife, passed it on to my son. Um, they may have taken a cursory look at it, but it has always fallen on me to be the one to read the fine print and then report back to them what my understanding is, which then allows all of us to ask the questions that we want to ask in order uh, to make sure that this is, what we want to do, because this is a 20-year lease. So the reality for me was I'm about to sign a contract that is going to remain in full force and effect until I'm 94.
So
And I don't,
okay, I understand now. So you don't own the system. The company
no,
still owns the system, and it's a lease agreement
yes,
for
sir.
reduced upfront costs.
Yep. No,
Okay.
there were no upfront costs. I didn't write a check, didn't give them a credit card, nothing. Zero. And yeah,
You're a part of the grid, and you're being paid some type of a user fee, or not a user fee. What would be called, Omar? There's a particular fee
Man,
that you can be.
these are lease agreements that the solar installer has with homeowners. And the tax incentive goes to the company, not the
Right,
homeowner.
that's right.
right, right.
But I can tell you of horror stories, particularly now I'm only talking about the Southeast because That
Mm-hmm.
is where I am more familiar with these type of operations.
Okay.
How some of these lease agreements have went very badly for
Mm-hmm.
homeowners, where they not only owe the electric company for continued use of the energy that is provided to the home, but they now also have a separate bill to pay for the lease of the solar panels. I have seen where people are now home their household is now struggling because they have these two payments that they have to make.
Okay.
And they do not see any return on what the installer. Now, I'm not saying that this is the case for the company that you're working with,
Oh no,
Imam Talib.
it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah, but
It's
I
not.
Where
have heard horror stories
I have,
around
yes,
this.
I have too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Omar, would that be language in the contract itself, or would that be language that is not included in the contract that is maybe legislated, and you would simply have to know
It
what
is
the
definitely
legislative
legislature
language?
driven. It
Okay.
is definitely legislature driven. It may be different in different regions. I know the
Mm-hmm.
Southeast, it was very predatory.
Right.
And these systems, no, these companies came into areas just selling these systems very, aggressively,
Right.
and
Right.
walking away and leaving customers kind of in a bind,
Right. Yep.
which you know not the nonprofit that I used to work for would have to go in and explain the agreements that people have gotten into,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a mess for a while,
Yeah.
in regards to some of the homeowners that we had interactions with.
Where systems
uh,
never even worked.
yeah, that in case that happened, where even houses that they installed,
Yes.
the roofing
Mm-hmm.
system was not it was not stable to
Mm-hmm.
even hold the solar panel.
Right.
So we ran into all types of different. It leaked. We had
Yep.
several where after installation, the roof leaks.
Yep.
And then being able to get that company to come back out and resolve those concerns was very challenging. So, that's just my experience
Right.
with these types of companies.
Right.
Can't say that that is going to be your experience, Imam Talib, but
Right.
you again, to your question, Edward, it is definitely legislature driven at the state
Mhm.
level on how these companies can operate within the state.
Right. Right.
And this is
And
this
I've
is
heard those same
somewhat
reports.
this is somewhat off topic, but still in the same realm. If if a company was created that ethically installed these types of panels, solar panels on homes, and had a real agreement, a clear agreement with the grid operator for these same type of services that Imam Talib has on his home and on his commercial building, could that company make money?
Yes, I mean there are models across the country where there's community based solar models,
Yep. They
and
got
they
them here.
work.
Yep.
So if you are following that type of model, I think where all of the user groups, stakeholders are benefiting from a community based solar model. Yes, that model can work. Now, to say that you're going to walk away with the type of margins that a company that is only focusing on the tax incentives, right? And they own the system and they have this lease agreement in place. You're not going to make those type of margins, right? So you have to be able to accept what a fair, equitable model is going to look like for all stakeholders that are involved in a community-based solar program.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Well, look, the company that leases my building, Solar Solution, DC, I know for a fact that they grossed over $30 million reported to Internal Revenue for the 2025 tax season.
How many regions of the country do they operate in? I can't even imagine you make $30 million just in the DC area doing solar.
I don't know for a fact, but I can certainly find out.
Yeah.
The owner,
Because I mean,
the
I'm always
owner
thinking about,
the owner is Palestinian,
okay.
young
Okay.
boy. Even and I've got a feeling, I don't know this for a fact, and I can certainly ask him. He might have operations in North Carolina because that's where his family is. The company itself was started by a Persian. His family was from Iran, and a Chinese. They were partners. They had a falling out. Partnership split up. The principal who signed the lease with me from Persia, he maintained the company until he sold it to the current owner, who, as I told you, he's from Palestine, and he lost. I think he told me he lost over 200 family members in this last raid in over in Palestine, over in Gaza. Over 200 family members. His core family here, as I said, is in North Carolina. I ran into the guy who originally leased the building from me in 2010. I ran into him about 2 weeks ago. He started a solar company down in Columbia, Maryland. So there may have been some kind of agreement between the two of them that he would not open up the same business within a certain mile radius of where Solar Solution is. But there are companies, more than one, here in DC that have been pushing the model that Omar speaks of, where they will pull together groups of people who may live in the same neighborhood, let's say within a 3-block radius, and they'll try to sign up as many people as they can. And there's like for lack of a better word, there's like a group discount, because they're all, the companies that they get to install these panels are all in the same, they're all in the same vicinity. So they can do these installations. And I'm telling you, to
Imam
my
Talib,
surprise,
Imam Talib, a
yes.
better approach, right? If we're talking about social enterprises, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and that's what this community-based solar model is really reflecting, a social enterprise where the company is socially conscious enough to know that, hey, this is an opportunity for me to build, to impact the quality of life of others, not just myself, not my family, but others, right?
Right.
You mentally, consciously, you have to be grounded in that kind of commitment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what this company can look like is a community-based company that comes from the community,
Right.
that comes together, pool their resources, build this company from the ground up where you train people in the community that is underemployed,
Yeah. Yeah.
unemployed, to become the installers of this
Yeah.
solar system that you are promoting, right?
Yeah.
They become the
The maintenance
maintenance
crew. That's
people
right.
that
Yes.
maintain the panels, right?
Yeah.
Clean them, keep them running, etc.
Yeah.
So you're generating I mean, you're creating really a social enterprise that is
A solar co-op.
a solar co-op. Exactly.
That's
Where
what it
it is
is.
the community running it, it is the
Right.
community that owns it, it is the
Yep.
community that is managing it, and it is the
Yep.
community that is working the initiatives.
Yep.
That is what we're trying to create when we talk about community-based solar.
Yep. Yep. That's it. That is it. And
That, I mean, that
that's
can
a model
go,
that could that is is
it
working
works. It
because
works.
despite what the company that I got my panels from, despite the type of inroads that they have made across this city, um, it has not hurt others because
Right.
there's still others who are building profit-based ones like what Solar Solution has. But I would tell you every every I would tell you every 3 months, at least 4 times a year, there is like a solar co-op in this that that's on the community listservs in this area, and I'm sure they're on other community listservs across the city where they are constantly pushing and maintaining this solar co-op concept. So there,
Hmm.
Evan, when you asked the question about what percentage, and I told you within a 5 block radius, maybe 2%, from my house, um, that that would say to me anywhere, particularly in an urban environment, that there is room for all types of like ethical operations to exist. And I
Think
like the
about,
idea that what Omar is talking about of the co-op piece, because when I look at the staff that Solar Solution has, man, I got to give it to this brother, man. He has young people in their 20s working for him. And yes, they have turnover, but when they sent the guys out to inspect my house, these were two young black men. Wasn't Neither one of them were near 30. And they came and did their job. I wanted to even and I'll ask JD because I mean, we have that type of relationship. But I want to know how he trains his people because all of these young people came in ready and ready to work. I mean, they weren't slurring their words; they were using eye contact. Um, all the things, and I don't know if he sends them through a training program or not. But I mean, these young people were sharp, and I mean, and I could see that same sort of model working with um, working with these solar panels. Um,
how about everything?
huh?
How about this idea? How about that you take your 5 block area, maybe that's the right size, maybe 8 blocks is the right size. I have no idea what the exact right size is, but you basically incorporate and you agree to take over that particular geographical area. You take over zoning, you take over power generation, you take over water, you take over sewage, you take over streets, maintenance of the streets, all of those things. And you do it in that micro version, do it less expensively than the city or whatever municipality does it. You do it for those people that live within that area. Obviously, with their approval, there would have to be a vote on all of this. These people would have to agree, majority, however you set that up. But you basically take over management of that particular area so that you can maintain all of these things at a high enough level that people are satisfied, but at a much lower cost.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's an area of Dallas, and I need to go back and find all the stuff that this is actually being done. Now, in the particular case I'm thinking of, it was proposed by, and the implementation of it is by developers, which is fine,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's an existing area. Area's been there for 150 years, but they decided that they wanted to improve it for everybody, commercial residents, homeowners, the whole thing, right? They wanted to improve it. They wanted the streets better. They wanted trash pickup better, all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. They made a proposal. They got an approval on it. The implementation goes on. It's not an overnight process, to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
I brought this up maybe 2 or 3 years ago when it happened, and I'm not a developer. I'm not a real estate guy, but I understood what the premise was of what they were trying to accomplish there,
And it
right?
works. Yep.
And I believe it works. And I
Oh,
believe
I
if
can
you have
tell
the
you it
right,
works. We got it
okay,
here in DC.
okay.
It's,
So
it's
if you're
called a
doing those,
business improvement district.
okay,
A BID.
okay.
Yep.
So to me, the reason I was, asking the questions, because again, I'm not a developer, I'm not a real estate guy. When you got economics plays a factor in whether or not these things can work short term, long term, what kind of life expectancy that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the legislative side of it plays a part because you need to be able to protect yourself legislatively from whether you're doing it in a co-op model or a community development model or a corporate model like these developers did. Legislation can change the economic picture on you in a hurry and things that you're allowed to do and not allowed to do.
Right.
That's big picture, and that's getting into the weeds. But when I think about the area around the nation's mosque, their new housing development there, other things that they plan to do around those areas, same thing in Atlanta, and there are other areas that we might have the potential. Charlotte is one of those areas now that they've got some zoning in place for certain other things around, Masjid al-Shahid, is that you look beyond the picture of just doing that, but taking some kind of further control, or at
Mm-hmm.
least having great influence over a particular area.
Right.
And then you can kind of control what goes on in that particular area.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it works for that, I don't know, 5, 10 block area, maybe the adjoining neighborhoods decide they want to be a part of that,
Mm-hmm.
and they petition to be made a part of that, and it continues to expand.
Right.
And
Right.
that's crazy thinking on my part.
Nope.
It's something like that works, but
Yep.
it beats going out and buying a plot of land and building a whole new city and what
Mm-hmm.
that pertains, which is a very expensive proposition.
Right. Right. Well, I can tell
Obviously,
you it works.
okay.
I can tell you that it has existed here in DC. I would tell you 90, 2010. I would tell you maybe 30 years. It has expanded in that time. The first one was called a downtown bid. It's been legislated by the council. It creates um, it creates a system that everyone who owns property in this particular area receives an additional tax bill that goes to the bid, to this business improvement district. And for that, for that investment, that additional investment that each taxable property pays within a geographic area, they get and have cleaner streets, regular trash pickups, in the public space. I would tell you, it's never dirty. They keep the streets clean. They keep all the tree boxes flowered, watered, constantly changing them out, making continuous improvements. So you see where your additional tax dollars are going. They've created many of them across the city. But the downtown bid was the first one. I don't know how many they have to this date. I would want to tell you there may be 4 or 5 of them across the city that do the same thing. I argued for it on this end, to have a business improvement district, but I had to deal with a city council person who was stuck on stupid. And he was only following the direction. He wasn't thinking on his own. He was following the direction of others who did not know this community. But what I'm hearing you say now has sparked another opportunity that I would present to the entire community and not just the businesses. Because when these business improvement districts are established, the properties that receive this additional tax are the commercial businesses located within the geographic area. But I'm wondering if I could take that same concept. I'm wondering now if I could take that same concept and find enough people within the geographic area where I live to include residents paying more to receive better services that the city has failed to provide. So, just by example, people in this neighborhood are complaining. Matter of fact, they're complaining all over the city because the city has removed several public trash cans. So the ones that are left are now filling up faster. And the city has done a poor job of they're all spilling over everywhere, not just in this area, but across the city, except in the business improvement districts. But the thought that you just raised, or the issue that you just raised, I'm thinking now that we may be ripe for a business improvement district or a residential improvement district that would also include businesses. That there may be enough people who are willing to pay a second tax bill that would get them the types of services that they want to see. The city would no longer have to pick up our trash. The trash would be picked up by private haulers. They would no longer be responsible for certain public duties that they are responsible for because the improvement district would take those things over. So I know that it works. I know that it works here in DC. I would tell you the additional tax that you would pay for the services that you get. Um, I wouldn't consider it to be burdensome. Um,
I don't know, man. In San Diego, where my older son
oh
lives,
boy, okay,
people get that $2.13 additional a month, water sewage added onto their
okay.
bill, and they're coming down with pitchforks and fire to City Hall, for that extra $2.13. So, I
Oh,
mean, I think you have to be careful with some of that, but and the other thing, I was just thinking this as you were talking about people paying additional fees for better services, obviously, is, for older people, the issue becomes the property tax bill.
mm-hmm,
Because anytime that you have that kind of improvement, it's going to increase the value of all the properties that are within that district. And
mm-hmm,
even with exemptions, you're still going to get a higher tax bill with, if you're over that exemption level, which most people typically find themselves to be, but you're going to get a
mm-hmm,
little bit higher tax bill. So balancing the property tax that's actually going to be paid against, raising cost of fees, of kind of balancing that out somehow might
mm-hmm,
be might be a way of alleviating some of the pain that people may think is coming their way. Because like I said, number one, people don't like change,
mm-hmm.
and people actually want to pay less for more, right? They want everything to be better, but they want to pay less for it in a lot of cases. So, man, the economics, but I'm with you. I think because of what I've seen, just a little bit that I've seen of this particular district in Dallas that has done this, that area, the entire area around where they have their improvement district has exploded. It's now probably one of the two or three hottest real estate areas for homes, business of all sizes that there is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just from that little postage stamp, when you think about the size of Dallas-Fort Worth, that little postage stamp size area that they took over 3 or 4 years ago, I guess it was now. And the improvements made down there. The only bad thing is the traffic because now everybody wants to go down there.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to be there. So, yeah, if you can do that with community and not developers, you can definitely have more control over all of it. Even the parking issues, which anytime that you have improvement, especially in a metropolitan area, if you don't manage parking, you're going to have a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
A huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
Omar, I'm going to find that. I'm going to find that name of that area for it. Somewhere in my notes, I've got that information stored with the entire conversation around it and all of the legislative, local, and statewide stuff that had to be passed for them to do it. When I put my hands on that, I'm going to make that available to everyone. Because I think for us that there might be some future possibilities of doing things like that in our communities where we have tight knit communities, like again around the nation's mosque, Atlanta. Those are two areas that I know of, and I think Charlotte may have those same type of opportunities with properties that they own. And there probably might be some other communities around the country that have similar situations that they might be able to do something like that.
And that was just so that you know, there are, and for the rest of us too, in DC, um, there are currently 13 business improvement districts that pay on average, in addition to the assessed value of the property, the additional tax is anywhere from 14 to much as 16 cents per $100 of assessed value. So, I mean, you can do the math, but I mean, $100,000 would yield what,
$160 a year in additional
right,
taxes paid.
right.
So
So
not a lot.
if
That's
you've
not a
got,
lot.
if you've got a, like, I mean, the value, the assessed value. So, I mean, you can do the math, and if you have a commercial building or even a residential building. Now, most of these
Hmm.
are against, in DC, it's against commercial properties.
Okay.
It's a business improvement district, and there are 13 of them. But I'm thinking of the concept now, and even when you mention the area around Masjid Muhammad, there's not a lot of commercial around there, but there is residential, and I'm thinking now of how a residential improvement district could work, um,
Well,
where
Imam
the
Talib,
business
it
improvement
has to
district,
work. It has to work the same way a city works, right?
mhm,
I mean, we have in the middle of Dallas this neighborhood called Highland Park, which is a city within itself within Dallas. Now, Highland Park is very wealthy, probably one of the five wealthiest little enclaves in the United States. They have their own fire department. They have their own streets and roads. They have their own police department. You know, all of those things. Obviously, there's the streets that run through there go to all parts of Dallas, but they do maintenance within their still city limits. They handle the maintenance on those streets. And their streets, you don't have potholes. There's no potholes in Highland Park. So the people who live there obviously pay more in property taxes, let's say, than what I do. But the services they get are commensurate with the taxes that they pay. And people fight to get in there because of the safety, the clean streets, you know, all of these things. So people make choices. So in our case, let's say in our community, when we're developing these things, then we're making an economic decision that we're going to pay our property tax dollars instead of going out, say, for the entire Washington, D.C., that our property tax dollars are going to be concentrated back into the area in which we're living and paying taxes. Or however, there's going to be a fight over some of those dollars, but let's say a majority of it goes back to the residents within the borders of that improvement district.
mhm.
That money then goes the way any city does for paying for things, trash pickup, road
Mhm.
repair, you
Well,
know, maintenance, all of these things, you know, and so there shouldn't be a huge increase in the amount that a homeowner would pay
right,
in those areas for the same services,
right,
right?
right, right.
There might be some initial cost up front, but a lot of that can be amortized. I mean,
Right.
you're going to be able to issue bonds just like any other municipality, to
Hmm.
finance certain things,
Hmm.
equipment and different things like
Right.
that, buildings that you
That's
need
right.
for maintenance, all of those
Mhm.
type things. You're going to be able to do that. You don't need a huge city hall building and huge courts buildings and all those type things, but you are going to be able to issue some bonds to pay for some of those things. And you
Mhm.
do that as that incremental district or whatever, and you retire once. I mean, you just manage it the same way you would a small city or a
Right.
small town or whatever you want to call it.
Right. Yes.
I think I don't see that as being that part of it as being a major problem.
Right.
Typically, it's simply getting enough people on board,
Hmm.
that
Right. And that's what it's going to take.
let's have our own thing.
Right.
Let's
That
stop complaining
that is what
about.
it's going to take. Yep.
Yeah, let's
Yep.
stop complaining about there's a liquor store over there now. Let's have our own zoning so we don't have liquor stores to even worry about,
Right.
right? They
Right.
can't come here because it's not zoned for that.
That's a workable idea. I mean, it's going to take commitment. It, it and but the part I like about it is all you're taking is an existing model with a business improvement district and turning it over to a residential improvement district. And I didn't realize until you asked the question, but you are right. When they created these bids in DC, these 13 bids, they gave them the full legal authority to be able to issue bonds.
Right.
I mean, you're right. They're like little cities. And
Well, I hate to be different
Come
no,
on,
on
don't
it,
be
Mister.
that, man.
Come
but
on,
you know
Mister
I got to do
Accountant.
it. You know I got to do it.
All right.
Yeah, I got to do it because I can see in that a snapshot of what we got today. Who's going to care for the less fortunate?
Mhm.
You understand that?
Oh,
That, that
Adam, I'm going to let you finish, but I'm going to tell you the answer.
well, I can see why Mem Don and his crew were in New York. I can see it because we got all these little so-called cities, and then the areas that can't afford to be a city that rely on services. Those services are being cut every which way we look. So I got to ask about what about them? Go
So
ahead,
I'm
Evan.
not, okay. So my answer to that is this. When you create, and I'm gonna use Imam Talib's language, a residential improvement district,
Hmm.
you are incorporating within that district all the things that are needed for that district. The
Hmm.
brothers at East Plano Islamic Center, we call it EPIC here in Dallas, that 400-acre piece of land that they're building schools, masjids, medical clinics, housing, both resident, individual residential housing, multifamily residential housing, multi-use buildings. Then you also have to include things that I've been calling for years, you know, centers for women who are displaced, centers for families that are displaced. See, all of that is a part of their planning at Epic when they're developing that 400-acre tract. This is not a
Okay.
new concept. How do you take care of people who are in need? Do you have do you have huge food pantries? Do you have huge clothing pantries? Do you actually, as Muslims, extract and pay proper zakat? And I needed to, yesterday morning, an imam in our community, hear me out, talking about zakat, said zakat is 2.5% of your income. And I didn't jump all over him. I didn't even say he was wrong. Zakat's not 2.5% of your income. Zakat is 2.5% of your net worth
Yeah,
after
well,
certain things are excluded,
exactly.
right? And
Right.
if we are properly paying zakat, the answer to your question is there. Zakat would take care of that community. Now, we're talking about what Imam Talib and I and what Omar, before he had to leave, what we were talking about is an agreed upon community. These people have agreed that we're going to have this particular type of community and we're going to pay to have this particular type of community. Not something that's overbearing, but we're going to pay to have this particular type of community with these particular type services, right?
Well, yeah, I didn't realize we were talking about Islamic effort. I thought you were talking
Well,
about general.
I mean,
See, if you want to put it like that, I agree, but
okay, okay,
maybe I agree because I don't know
okay.
if all these Muslims you think about are thinking that way.
I know. We may have more
So
problems with Muslims than everybody else.
I didn't realize this was an ideal conversation. I thought it was a reality conversation.
No, it's a reality. It is a reality
No, it ain't.
conversation.
No, it ain't. It ain't a reality conversation until it comes into
Adam,
practice.
Adam. You're going to get pushback on any good idea. But everybody that we're talking about here, when you're talking about property, they already paying property tax. Somebody's paying the property tax on every one of those structures
Exactly.
today. Whether
Yeah.
it's this new idea or it stays the way it is, they're already paying property tax. All we're saying is let's redirect the property tax
I
to
missed
take
that part
care
of
of.
but Everett, I missed that
Yeah.
part of the conversation. I thought you were
Okay.
talking about. When I tuned on, Todd was talking about something that DC has right now.
Yeah, but his is a business
That
improvement
ain't that had
district.
nothing to do with Islam. That's DC
Right.
right now.
I agree.
So
And
I missed the part where we were going to an ideal situation.
none of it's ideal. None of it's ideal. We just
Well,
got
if
to
you're
talk
talking
about
about
our
something that
brother.
is not a
We
reality, it's ideal. If it hadn't been brought into existence.
no. It has been in existence, though. That's what we're saying. Not under, let's say, under, man, they would call us Sharia and they probably run us out of town. But it hasn't been necessarily done maybe perfectly the way that I'm thinking about it. Maybe I'm thinking ideals, knowing that my perspective on things is to always propose ideal and know that you're not going to get 100% of that today. You might get 60% of it today. And you have to incrementally start working toward 100% from there, right? That's the way I look at things. I try to create in my mind and on paper the ideal situation. How much of that can I afford today, or how much of that can I feel that I can accomplish today? But my goal is always the ideal. It's
Okay.
somehow getting there.
That's good. But again, we're talking about the United States of America. We're talking
I
about
agree.
if you're talking about a situation that they're attempting to do in Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
they're not attempting to do that in Fayetteville or in North Carolina.
No, not yet.
Well, keep in mind now, we're only talking about what is existing today. And I
Right.
see the reason that today in the United States, they're trying to go back to a time when discrimination was rampant and they're trying to take away rights that African Americans and others have gotten. They're trying to take it away.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
that's the discussion I thought we were joining into. I don't know.
No,
No,
that's a much bigger discussion than what I'm talking about.
okay, so I'm saying when we have a discussion, we should say, this is what we propose in this country to have.
We
Not just
are,
not what Tyler was saying is what we have in DC.
well, he
Well,
does. Business
right.
wise, though, they call them business
Then they're saying they're
improvement
trying to go
districts.
to residential.
That's what we're talking about. We're thinking about that in this conversation of how do we take that
Right.
and how do we apply it to a residential solution
Yes.
based on what we already have, not building brand new from the ground up,
Right.
but based on what we already have.
Right.
Well,
can we accomplish the same type things on
Yes.
on a small scale?
maybe I
Yes, we
missed
can.
that. Maybe I missed that segue, so I'm gonna go back and mute. I didn't hear that segue.
Okay. No, please stay in, because your mindset and your expertise, as far as numbers go, play into this as to whether or not this is something that our community, and I should say your knowledge of our overall community, especially say west of the Mississippi River or east of the Mississippi River, plays into this, because you know people and you know different communities and how they function just from the people that you know in the length of time you've been in the community. Because I think the biggest obstacle, it would be us. You know, what was it that guy, the cartoon said? I have seen the enemy and it is us.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest issue,
Right.
is getting everybody on board, or if you got to get 60% of the vote or 65% for it to pass, of getting to that number that in Imam Talib's five block area, my 10 block area, whatever the case may be, of getting those property owners, residents, whatever you want to call them, to agree to approve that district, then get it approved on the county level, state level, whatever. Make sure that you've dotted all the I's and crossed the T's, that you don't run afoul of the Constitution and all of that, so that you can have it. You're not, other than that you're creating that district, you're not really overlaying too many more financial burdens on people. Might be a little bit in the beginning, right? Especially until you get your bond financing and things like that in line, and then have some money that you have in the bank long term to be able to handle situations. Because again, you're going to be responsible for power, heat and cool, water, sewage, trash pickup, street maintenance, telephone poles. If there are telephone poles, they get knocked down. You're either going to do it within the city, or you're going to contract out for somebody to come in and help you get those back up, get power back on, and all those things. Everything that it takes to run a small town, you're going to become responsible for. And the zoning, to me, is a big part of it, of determining what's going to be there, how it benefits the community, what's not going to be there that might detract from the community. Yeah, we have to start small. We're a small percentage of the overall nationwide population. We start small. We can't be exclusion. We can't exclude people. We can't call it Islamic Village. If you're not Muslim, you can't be here. We can't do that. That violates the Constitution. So we can't do that. But we're inviting people in, or to stay, who will follow those guidelines, those community guidelines that have been created. And my bet is that everybody that's not in at the beginning, if they're bordering us, they're going to want in. And you're going to be able to go out and incorporate some other areas into that framework. That's what I think. I could be so wrong, but that's what I think.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I like the concept, and I would tell you that much of what you are describing as an individual, I've already been doing and have seen some of the results of it, being able I'm gonna just use this as an example. Once you start purchasing property, be it commercial, residential, once you start getting into real estate, one of the reasons why I bought additional real estate was to be able to control what comes in and out of my community. That's the purpose of it. And in my years of doing this type of work, I have run into and across others who've been able to contribute to this process that's made it better for everyone. And so I like the idea. I would like to be able to work on that idea in conjunction with, because I see this as part of the process, in conjunction with getting this credit union up and running. I mean, let's not forget why it is we come on every week like we do. And we have in this city, and I'm sure it is in other cities, where we could also incorporate whatever social organizations have been able to survive this administration's slaughter of many of these programs that were helping this described, what do they call it, like an underclass. I look at them just as people that we need to help, or we may want we want to help, because a rising tide lifts all boats, and we don't have to approach them as if they are lesser. We just meet them wherever they are. That's our duty and responsibility as Muslims. That is something that should come natural to us. Not to make anyone feel lesser. Because, I mean, if that was the case, I would probably be one of the first in line, because I have not always had what it is that Allah has now blessed me with. So I can't forget. None of us can forget where it is we came from.
Yeah, you missed the earlier conversation about hose and turn rows. We know where we came from.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did miss that one. Yeah, I did miss that one. And look, while I'm thinking about it, and I don't want to put her on the spot, but I want to have us recognize Sister Fitra Muhammad from Study Al Islam. She has joined us today. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Fitra.
Assalamu
Walaikum
alaikum.
salam.
It's
Walaikum
wonderful to
salam. I'm really happy to be here. These conversations are interesting, especially since you keep using Washington D.C. as an example. I would just caution you that they say things don't always look as good as you think they are, and so you really have to have deeper conversations with the people that um, if you haven't been to New Medina, New
Mm-hmm.
Medina is, for me, New Medina is the prototype that this community should be following. It's
Mm-hmm.
not any particular city, and what you described that's happening in Texas, I assume that that's the project under Mark Kane. It's those kinds of prototypes that we should be following: housing, businesses, and masjids. Because building these masjids are a heavy burden on us, and it doesn't really service the community other than a place to pray. And you can pray anywhere. But anyway, I'm here to listen and learn. I'm not, I just caution you always, on that it's the bigger picture that we should be looking at. It's not, and although I'm very proud of the imams that have taken on the task of building masjids require a lot of money. And there's so much you could do with that money to service the community besides build a masjid. or including building a masjid. I shouldn't say besides, but including building a masjid, that would be much more resourceful than focusing so much on a masjid.
Mm-hmm. Right. I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, I mean, I know what has happened here with the East Plano Islamic Center, and I know that the masjid in their 400-acre development kind of sits at the center of that. But I don't think, like in their case, I don't think they could even think about building a masjid on that property if they had not already developed a strong community that's going to be based, in residential, with the school, with services, like health clinics and things of that nature there. The masjid then comes, I think, to serve a community that you've already created, that is already there.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Michael Hameen. I'm not at my best today, but in regards to this subject that you're dealing with now, the leadership, the leadership of Imam Muhammad was particularly focused for our needs as African Americans, and the two particular focuses that he gave us early on was education, and he said jobs initially, education and jobs. That hasn't really changed, and he identified that having a place for education, for school, within which you could have a place to pray, and then he followed that up with a concept that his daughter Layla shared. He did this he shared this concept among a number of the CPC and imams. The idea of a, I guess you could call it a strip mall area, but a building that would be a utility building, not just for prayer. You could put prayer mats down, but you could have business meetings. You could have you could have socials. To the right, maybe an insurance company, a law office, and so on and so forth. But his point was that when people drove by and looked at that area, they saw progress, they saw production. More than just a place to prayer, where the utilities, you've got the utilities that you have to pay for that area, uh, and it's not used. It's not regularly used because the concept of having a masjid is to be around a community, uh, you know, that the community surrounds the masjid. We're not there right now. We're not there yet. So right now, many people have to travel distances to get to the masjid. So the difficulty for five daily prayers, you know, the Imam was saying, and he gave us the concept of multi-purpose. He told brothers and sisters in business, that they should share expenses, find a place where, like Ben and Jerry's and Dunkin' Donuts, in the same building. The man was very progressive and common sense in his leadership. And this idea, I've seen it, the immigrant Muslims idea, this hadith of you build a masjid and you earn heaven by building a masjid. So this I'm going excuse me because I'm not thinking really clearly. This naive idea, in terms of our circumstances, is incorporated into this idea of masjid building, but it's really community building. The Imam said,
Exactly.
our soul's desire to be accountable for our own community.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Brother
Yeah.
Michael Hamid, you're very clear. I just want you to know that you're very clear, multi-purpose,
Right.
and
Hmm.
then masjids. Um, that you thank you for coming on and clarifying, I think, what everybody is saying.
Right. And I'm in agreement with you. And part of what we talked about, if you break it down, if you put it in the context of what Sister Fitra and Michael were saying, is that you create the ideal environment that calls for a masjid to be there.
Mhm.
The whole
You
earth
know,
is the masjid in our
well,
conception.
I'm just saying,
I
right?
know.
There are some liquor stores I will not go pray in.
No, that's haram.
Okay. So what I'm saying is there are environments that are not hospitable for Islamic practice.
Exactly.
And what I propose that we do or try to attempt to do on a small scale and then a larger scale is that we create as many environments as we possibly can within the legal constraints of this country,
I support that.
environments that are hospitable
Yes.
for Islamic practices, that people feel comfortable and protected. And that when you have enough numbers, if you don't already have a masjid that is serving that particular area, then the people will cause a masjid to be built. Just like if you're Jehovah's Witness, there's enough folks around Jehovah's Witnesses to throw up a Jehovah, whatever they call their Kingdom Hall. They throw up a Kingdom Hall in a week because there's a need, because there's enough Jehovah's Witnesses around that they need a place to go worship. So the community part of it, of building community, and I'm not a start all over from the ground up person, though if you can do that, you have the money to do that, I think that's fantastic. But if you have the ability to continue to broaden the community that you already have, if it's 3 blocks, if there's majority Muslims, and it becomes 5 blocks, then it becomes 10 blocks, then it becomes 20 blocks of majority Islamic families and businesses. And then if you can gain control of that area as far as zoning and different things like that, then those are things that can be accomplished. And all that may not be accomplished in what lifetime I have left, but it can definitely be accomplished in the lifetime that my children have left.
Yeah, and
That we have these enclaves like that across the country.
and Graceline,
Lawful enclaves that nobody
yeah.
can protest that we're doing anything outside of the Constitution, state or federal or whatever.
Our approach, is neighborly. Instead of, those Muslims, you know, we are more established as being neighbors to those who are not Muslims than many of these immigrants, and their motivation and perception of establishment. We've got a more natural idea of establishment than many of those that want to establish Muslim community life. Uh, but Graceline, I see, is a very uh, special part in giving financial literacy and the other things that you're working with Brother Omar Muhammad. Uh, it, we need a roadmap, and this is what I'm hearing in this weekly meeting of Graceline. We're establishing a vision and a roadmap, a perception of how, and we know it's not going to be overnight. So the kind of steps, the little steps that are necessary to take to get to the bigger vision. And I'll stop there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's being done. If you follow any of the stuff that Omar is doing, as far as the financial literacy, financial freedom seminars, all the information that is included in that you pay a lot of money for that if you just go out on the free market and try to get it.
That's
And
right.
in that completeness that he has it.
And put it in a
Uh,
book.
and put it in yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's all there.
Right.
What Imam Talib does about, long-term planning for families, financial future and things of that nature. Um, I have a good friend who's an attorney here in Dallas. He's an estate attorney. It's $2,500 to sit down with him the first time, and if you want trust and wills and things like that, you're talking minimum 10 grand. And a lot of the same information that's shared, Imam Talib has been putting that information out there for our community over the last 2 years or so, pretty heavy.
Yep.
At no cost. So, and these are things that we bat back and forth at Graceline, but we think the community needs it. We have discussions on things, and trust me, we don't always agree on everything, but we try to get to the bottom line of things that are going to help our community financially, economically, however you want to say that. And I think we're doing a good job of that. And little things. Our entire discussion today started because Imam Talib decided to get solar panels put on his home and and has it on one of his commercial structures, there in DC, and everything that's on around that. And trying to find out if they're within that exercise that he's going through personally, if there could be benefit for others in our community,
Right.
And it's kind of evolved from that because in my mind, every day, I'm looking for a better way to accomplish things. Less expensive, less effort, easier to share, of accomplishing things and making progress. That's my mind. That's where my mind goes every day in almost every aspect of anything that I do. And to me, Graceline is like a perfect incubator for those type discussions because there's no shrinking violence here. And we don't have a hierarchy. All voices are heard. And there's no judgment. There's education. I love that. That's my lifeblood is having long conversations about things of importance and trying to get a better understanding of this life. Period. And I absolutely love it. And Sister Pitcher, you're coming on today is like the highlight of the year so far. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because of the amount of respect that I have for you and for what I see your output of the things that you have done and the things that you continue to do, not just with Study Al-Islam, but with almost everything that I know that you're involved in. You honor us by being here. You have no idea how much you honor us just by being here this morning. I really appreciate it, sister.
I appreciate you saying that. Um, as we grow older, I don't know if you know that Tony Brown just passed. He just
Yes.
transitioned. And they said that one of the things that he asked himself before every program was, is this good for Black people? Of course, I don't ask myself that today because my sensitivities and my experience lets me ask the question: is this good for believing Muslims? And if it's good for them, I always think it's good for anybody else. That's just the way I feel about it. If it's good for us, then it's good for anybody else that carries the same values we have. I've worked with Imam Talib now. It's been 15 years. I can't believe the number of years that have passed and the time that I have been working with him. He and I were just talking about how we have been together as long as, I don't know, I can't remember anybody else I've been that long with besides my own family. But as I grow older, I'm looking for communities where where I can retire that is that has Muslims, where there are Muslims living, like what you're describing is happening in Texas. And I was talking to Imam Pleeman. There's so much land in the South that's so dirt cheap. And New Medina is such an example of what we can do together. I would be willing to bring, Imam Talib uh, 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 here on Graceland has been on Study al-Islam so many times, but I would be willing to bring Graceland on Study al-Islam if we could come up with a project that we could invest in that would give us what we're discussing here today: housing, commercial property, and then a masjid. Because as we all know, we can pray. There's so many. There's just the earth is spacious, but I haven't heard that yet. I would love to invest in a place where I may not see, but as you talked about, my children will see. And we pray Allah that as they grow older, they want to be around Muslims. And I know that's what I want. So I've been looking for New Medina is just too far down in Mississippi for me. But there's so many places that what we're doing in DC, and I agree with you about making our communities better because we are all scattered all over these cities. Um, but we also, it would be a blessing if we would stop raising $4 and $5 million to build masjids and raise $4 and $5 million to build communities. Because I just
Yes, yes.
just raising $4 and $5 million to build a masjid for prayer. I just don't get it. And what
Full
Brother
hearted.
Hamid and what Brother Michael Hamid just described, our priority should be education. And we're not doing anything about building schools for $4 and $5 million. I don't even know if that's on our list.
No.
Yeah, that it's really interesting that you say that because so many ideas pass through my head that some of them they have to circle back around like in a 45-day cycle and they hit me again. So Friday, I was thinking about schools and I was thinking about what makes our schools expensive, too expensive maybe for some of our parents, the tuition and different things like that for our parents to be able to pay, and just trying to come up in my mind of solutions for those particular issues. Because we're talking about not only obviously the buildings, which we have a lot of masjids that are empty during the week that would make great schools, but also you have to pay instructors. And how do we go about either finding instructors or being able to pay our instructors a livable wage that we can simply open the doors and have schools? And once again, the seed was there of communities. Communities support schools. I'm a product of public schools up until the time I went to private school in college. But up until the time I left for college, I was a product of public school, taxpayer funded schools. So we're a little hesitant as a community to use our own tax dollars to fund our own schools. It goes over my head as to where the disconnect is, but the disconnect exists. And I think it probably is around the rules about what you have to teach and different things like that. And I can 100% understand that.
I think the disconnect is the will. We've got more education and more material resources, but the kind of will that our people had coming out of slavery, that drive to express all that was pent up during the time of slavery, chattel slavery, and that drive to just express that human excellence came out, you know, in so many different ways. Um, I work with Imam Abdul Alim out of Philly on Thursday nights. He's joined me as a recurring guest on Not Just Talk on AM 360. And he described, he's a very strategic thinker. He described the fact that we're not planning. he called what's called in Islam al-Islam a waqf, a trust. We're not building up the monies to really sustain the education that we want. And the Imam invited the businessmen and women to read the Quran because he knew reading the Quran would show them that they would see their responsibility for providing what schools and other areas of community life need. The schools don't make money, they spend money. So we have to have a source. And I've been of the opinion, Prophet Muhammad, prayers and peace be upon him, said, to seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. And the idea that Imam showed us of his father's Nation of Islam was that it was more than bean pies and newspapers, it was a language environment that tells me that we have to create the environment. It has to be all hands on deck. Grandma, grandpa, mama, daddy, you know, focused on an educational environment, not just for the children, but for adult education. We need to know more so we can do more. And we pay for what we don't know. And sometimes we pay dearly because we just don't know. And I'll stop there.
I want to say, and he's not on the line, but my first minister when I became a member of the Nation of Islam in 1972, and later he was my first imam, and that's Imam Irvin Shakir out of Winston-Salem. And his basis is that African Americans don't support education. He used to, and this brother does not have a college education, but it was through his efforts that Muhammad University and later become Sister Muhammad School got established. And we put all hands on deck when I came in the community to get that the establishing well to get that it was already established when I got there. But we used to sell bean pies, carrot cake. I used to go on Winston State University campus at night with some slices of carrot cake and bean pies. And I'd go through the football dome and sell out. Krispy Kreme donuts, they had a plant right about 2 blocks from the Masquerade. We go there on Saturday morning and get 100 boxes of donuts and hit the street selling. But the purpose was, he said, that our teachers have to have a living wage.
Mm-hmm.
And we paid the teachers. And we had a school. So later I went back to school at Winston State and got a degree and went to New York to work. And he would call me and say, have you sent money back to your school? And he used to get me all the time. Don't forget your school. And it's because of him I started sending money to Winston State, because I knew he called me and asked me if I did it yet. But we don't support education. I mean, we don't support our schools. You follow? We don't send money back for the most part. We
Right.
raise more money for our alma mater, dearest mothers, what it means, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll raise more money having a cruise to raise money for the school. And the majority of the money we spent went to the cruise line, everybody else, but to the school.
That's right.
We'll have an event right now. They have a fundraising event for the college. Again, having people spend a lot of money. This segue to our conventions and conferences. As Muslims, we'll spend, I know, I would spend two or $3,000 to go to a national convention. And out of that $3,000, maybe 300 went to Mosqueras. So I said one day, I'm gonna stay home and send Mosqueras $1,000. Make sense?
Of
Because
course.
we
A
had to have
bar,
a
where
good
bar.
time
Yes.
to raise money for an organization, but we don't
Hmm.
support organizations. Let's look at other ethnic groups that support education. Do they have some fancy Islamic name or Quranic name for what they're trying to do? No, they do it. You understand? And for us as African Americans to think that we can put a fancy term on the effort to get us to do something that we haven't been doing, we have not shown the propensity to do. That's why we started at 150, right? To get us to send money to support the schools that we did have open and encourage others that if you do start a school, we'll be there to support you. Now, if you're relying on our funds to fund your school, you're in trouble.
Hmm.
Let's be real with it. You're in trouble. So that's where we are now. It's not a religious thing. It's not a lack of Islamic knowledge thing. It's something deep down in our psyche, in our souls, that we have become as a result of slavery, that we don't support the institutions that we need to support to build our life in this country. And I'll
It's
stop at that.
it's social conditioning. And Imam Fahim Shuaib used to say it, and it sounds during the times that I heard him say it, I never heard him mention the Imam, but the logic of the Imam is right there. The language is we've been a part of of an experiment to condition us to be dysfunctional in the vital areas of our life. It started with chattel slavery, but it didn't stop there. The social condition is still something we have to overcome. We're in a social environment that promotes individualism, but the other ethnic groups, they brought with them, they have with their ethos, they have with their sacred bond, like mi familia. They have an idea of collective progress. We've been conditioned to individual progress, and they feed us nuclear family rather than the traditional family. So many ideas that continue to reinforce that earlier social conditioning, and until we face it, till we become aware of it, we can't overcome it. The environment of the Nation of Islam created an environment, a language environment that worked on those ills. You know, without without the Quran, we begin to see the need to work together. But the conditioning, uh, and don't think Imam Muhammad is not aware of was not aware of it, but he knew that this was a process that is a generational progress. And we on this line, we're like the so-called Negroes who are working on the transition, from laying the foundation for a healthier and a productive foundation for community life to be built upon. And this is it's not a sprint. We need those strategic thinkers. And like I said, we suffer, because we're not paying attention. That's the cause. We got to pay more attention to these vital areas. That's the cause, and we're going to suffer until we pay attention. Thank you.
So there are more. I'm gonna use this term. There are more well-educated African Americans today than any other time in American history. There are more African Americans who statistically fit within the middle class or higher than at any other time in American history, even if you do it on a percentage basis. There are more of us that are educated. There are more of us that have beyond a livable wage than at any other time in American history. Girls females, young women, go on and get degrees and advanced degrees. And I'm talking about African American young women at a higher rate than at any other time in American history. They are pushed by their mothers, they're pushed by their fathers, they're pushed by their grandparents, so on and so forth. The same way that I can take you back in my family history to education was preached in little cabins in East Texas in 1908 and 1913 and in 1918 and so on and so forth. And it's cataloged in Bibles and everywhere else of what the family dreams were and what they were doing. I can show it to you in print. We have, as a race, we have pushed education over the years. Whether that was, I just want you to get an education, or I want you to become an engineer, I want you to become a lawyer, I want you to become a school teacher, direction and different things like that. Nobody should ever say that African Americans have not pushed for the next generation to be educated. There may have been a lapse in morality and everything that springs from that in the African American community. But aspirations toward education, that has, to me, and just what I've seen, and I haven't been everywhere and I haven't talked to everybody, just what I've seen, I haven't seen there to be any lack in pushing for education. I think morality has been the problem.
Well, yeah,
And
well,
well, hold on, Adam, let me finish because
okay,
I'm
I'm sorry.
about to include what you said. I also think that in addition to morality being an issue, I think that the dependence upon the institutions of the state, whether that's at the state level or the federal level, to take care of needs that typically the family, extended family, community dealt with, that has created a lapse in our connectiveness and in our preparedness to be able to take care of certain needs of our own. For us as Muslims, because factionalism, even in the time of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, existed, institutions were created from the Quran and from the Sunnah, one of those being zakat, to make sure that that factionalism never interfered with being able to take care of the needs of the community. I don't care what tribe you were from. The person in that area who was responsible for collecting the zakat collected the zakat. And even in the case of Mecca, when the Prophet conquered Mecca, he put in place and properly trained a young man, I think he was 19 years old at the time the Prophet gave him that particular job, of how to collect the zakat, how to factor it, how to collect it. That zakat, along with sadaqah, families taking care of themselves, so on and so forth, went to help toward building those communities in every aspect. We don't even understand zakat. But in our case, since we pay income taxes and property taxes and all of these other things, and coming to understand how those things can be used to help us, but also internally, there's nothing that restricts us. Even as African Americans, when we take Shahada and we become a part of the Islamic community, there's no restriction on us. There's no chattel slavery that restricts us, or, whatever remains of that should beat zakat out of you. None of that should excuse you from paying zakat. And zakat should be handled in such a way that the primary needs of our community, whatever its size, whatever you can collect, that zakat is used in the best way to build that community. And in our particular community, if the Imam W.D. Muhammad says education is a priority, then we know where most of that zakat has to go in establishing educational institutions. Now, I know that's
And
very
let me speak, brother,
simplified. Go
before
ahead.
you
Go
get
ahead.
let me
Go
speak, please.
ahead. Go ahead.
Brother,
It's getting to be
I want to have a
time to make
discussion.
word
Look here,
salad. Yeah.
I want to have this, and I'm not disagreeing with anything you said, Brother Ever. But there are communities that don't know the heck what zakat mean, that support themselves.
I mean,
They don't know what it means. So it has to be something that Allah instilled in the human being that He created when He made us. Zakat came to purify that activity and to put the activity in the right spirit. But if the activity is dead, you got to wake the activity up first, and then you can talk about the best application of it. We do not support education. When I was in college in 1969, you had more females in college in HBCUs than males. Today, you have more females in college and HBCUs than males. We have more degrees, but having a degree is not a factor in supporting education, because the people that supported education in the general society in the beginning did not have college degrees. But they became wealthy enough that they took their money to support, to build schools, because there was something there in them that saw a need for that. So just having a degree don't mean that's going to translate to dollars to support it. We supported education when we had no money, for the most part, because we saw that as a means. Right? But right now, when the money came, the requisite increase in supporting of the education system that so-called produced the money was not there. And that's what I'm talking about.
no,
I don't care how many degrees African
It's
Americans
it's
have.
it's not just education.
I
Like
know
I
it's
mean,
not, but
like
we're talking about education right now.
my point is that in the vital areas of our life, we're dysfunctional,
Thank you.
and that dysfunction, you know, we're involved in the Democratic Party like it's a church or religion, rather than exercising our freedom to govern ourselves like the Mormons, like the Amish, and the Asians. We don't even know how they're.
He was making a point. He left. Whatever.
Michael, we lost your voice. You may have
Lost
put
it, brother.
yourself on mute
Is he,
accidentally.
is he still on the line?
Yeah, he's still on the line. I
He's
think
still
he
now?
accidentally put himself on
Yeah,
mute.
maybe so.
But
Okay.
go
Hey,
ahead, Michael. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I'm about finished.
We lost
The
about 15 seconds of you. You went on
Okay,
mute.
my point was that there are vital areas of our life that we're socially conditioned to be dysfunctional when it comes to the us instead of the I. We again, we're individually focused because the environment promotes that and pushes those buttons. You know, our individual happiness and so on and so forth. We've got to work on a collective, you know, a collective view of ourselves. That's it. I'll stop there.
Okay, so I'm gonna rebut you just a little bit, not much, just a little bit, because I think that there's a point at which when we're talking about us that we have to start divorcing ourselves from the general African American population.
Mm.
And I know it's hard, and I know you can't do it full time. There are only bits and pieces of time that you're able to do this. But you have to find some time every day to divorce yourself from the general African American population. And you actually have to think like a believer, period, and leave the rest of it behind you.
Edward, I would
No,
divorce myself.
hold on, Adam.
No, we got to
Hold
quit
on. Let me
acting
finish.
like the general African American.
Well, there
I can't
you
stop you
go.
there,
Well,
brother. I'm
no,
not.
that's what I'm getting at. Can I finish?
No, but it's not me doing it. I'm talking about what I see.
I understand. No, I understand that. This is a general statement, not pointed at any
Oh, okay.
individual. Okay. So let's just say it's me. I'm the object of the study. And I'm out in the city doing business every day. I'm at the gym and I'm around a whole bunch of people, 99% who are not Muslim. And the business world, 95% who are not Muslim, and so on and so forth, right? I can't help but interact with them. I can't help but hear what they say. I can't help but see the things that they do. I can't help but overhear their conversations with each other and the things that are important to them. Some of which I share, most of which are not important to me. I'm older than my children, thank goodness. So a lot of what goes on in day-to-day life has zero effect on me. I am, other than the fact that I eat food, drink water, need shelter, clothing, all those things, and the fact that I do participate in things like elections and things of that nature, and I love sports. As a Muslim, I am somewhat divorced from all of that, the rest of it, except for those little snippets that I choose to participate in. They don't have influence on me. What should have influence on me, and this has been progressive, this didn't happen the day I took Shahada in Atlanta. This is progressive, is that the things that happened when the Prophet became involved and we had al-Islam, when the Quran was starting to be revealed from him, the period of time that he came in where you want to talk about people that were dysfunctional, African Americans in the United States of America have nothing on the citizens of Mecca and how dysfunctional they were. And the same Quran message that was able to turn that entire peninsula around is available to us today. So whatever has happened to us, we have the tools to be able to overcome it because it's repetitively been done. And all I'm saying when I talk about zakat, and I understand most communities, you look at the Jewish communities and you look at all the schools that they build and the Episcopals and the Catholics and all that stuff, they're not talking about zakat, but they have something like it. You can call it tithing. I don't know what the Jews call it. I have no idea. I don't know what the Buddhists call it. But they all have a format. They all have a format at which they set about accomplishing things for their individualistic community. We have the best of formats. I believe. I'm prejudiced. I'm Muslim. We have the best of formats. And whatever my great great grandparent went through in 1849 doesn't stop me from doing my very best of following that format today. And I have one of the worst governors in the United States in Gregory Abbott, or whatever his name is, Abbott. What he thinks about African Americans, what he thinks about Muslims, doesn't influence my actions. I know that I know I'm going to pray 5 times a day, sometimes more. I know what foods I'm going to eat, what foods I'm not going to eat. I know I'm not going to consume alcohol. I know I'm not going to engage in illicit sex practices. I mean, on and on and on and on and on. The society at large can do whatever the heck it wants. I have no control over those people that live 2 houses down. But I know what I'm doing, and I know I could do more. And I said this is incremental to try to do more. That's why I'm here every Sunday morning. And that's why I participate in other activities within our community to try to do more.
Edward, can I interject this?
Jump right in there.
I speak with Imam Ronald Shahid on a regular basis, and the publications that he has produced to help us with uh, protecting the leadership knowledge body of Imam Muhammad and the spirit also of Imam Muhammad. He asked Imam Muhammad whether or not the Imam expected us to do anything about his telling us how the world is operating and things going on over our head. And Imam Muhammad's response was no. The response was no. I'm hoping that by knowing these things that you will focus on producing community life. Now we've got what the Imam called the resourceful men and women, where he said that we should look for leadership among the resourceful men and women. That's where the leadership focus should be in terms of helping us with the life and protecting the life that we've come into. So that's where the issue is, in my opinion. We have resourceful men and women, for whatever the reasons are not seeking one another to produce this environment that we need. If we better organize ourselves as members of his association, that will help us to help others. We will see a more effective uh, uh, attraction of those who want to do better because of our organizational and movement, organized movement together. But in fact, the Imam told us that the opposition is so great and the job is so big that we have to continually ask for Allah's help because we I see when it comes to resourceful men and women organizing ourselves collectively, I see a big problem, a big issue, a big challenge, you know, and until we overcome, whether it takes Allah creating the environment that gets our attention, sometimes we have to get a little spanking, whatever it takes to get our attention, that this is a critical need for us to organize ourselves to not only progress for Muslims, but progress for the group, the the group of African Americans.
Sister Fitra said it best. If it's good for the Muslim, it's good for everybody.
That's true.
So
A true,
if we focus on what's best for us,
Exactly.
everybody's going to benefit.
yeah,
Exactly.
a true Muslim is a true human being. And we've shown
So
that we've been able to maintain our humanity through all kinds of hell, and oppression. So we're built for the mission. We just have to see, you know,
we're doing it. We're
yeah,
doing it. Michael, I've said this before on other programs, especially on AM 360. We're doing it. Could it be more? Could it be better? Yes. And if you ask me that when you reach your goal, you say, could it be more? Could it be better? I'm going to say yes again, right? When you got
yeah,
100 at 50, when you got 100 at 50, and what they have done, what they continue to do. Could it be more? Could it be better? Yes.
Yes.
Will it be more? Will it be better? If you ask
Yes.
me, the answer is
Yes.
yes.
I agree.
We could go down the list of different groups and organizations within our community. And there's progress being made that probably needs more acknowledgement. What Graceline is doing probably needs more acknowledgement. When I see Sister Fitra's show have 180, 200 people on that you can just see on Zoom, and I was happy to hear somebody say there are people that do it in groups. So there's multiples of that out there because might be one Zoom, but there might be 20 people participated in that. It's only counted as one. To me, that's fantastic. Could it be more? Could it be better? Yes. The important thing is that all of the positive things that we're doing, all the positive initiatives that we have, that we don't stop, that we keep pushing. And all the areas that we know in our heart of hearts that we know we're doing it a little backwards, cart before the horse, that if we have the opportunity to interrupt that action and turn it around and do it the right way, that we have to have the moral courage to do that.
Yeah, assessment is necessary. Yeah.
Right. I think I gave an example maybe 2 weeks ago. I can't remember the program I was on about a local masjid effort here in Dallas to build a new masjid. And the original target, I think, was $2.2 million. It went to $2.5 million because anybody knows building costs and things of that nature have gone up and they continue to rise. So I think now the target is 3 million or a little bit over 3 million. And they've raised $2.3 million. They don't have a school. There's no school. There used to be a school.
That's
My
problematic.
my my oldest son started his education at that school that no longer exists. But they've got $2.3 million sitting in a bank or somewhere right around that number, waiting to get $3 million so they can build a masjid. And I have no power over that situation. My voice has been heard, surely discarded somewhere. But the way that we think, the process that we go through of actually building community, there's obviously this whole question of autonomy, which I've come to understand and accept. And Michael, you've heard me say this many, many times. We don't have a plan.
Yeah. That's what James Farmer said. They asked him about the civil rights movement, and he said, when the door of opportunity opened up for us, we didn't have a plan to walk through. And that's where
Yeah,
we
we don't.
are.
I
We,
mean, I think ethereally, like floating around in a cloud, we have a plan.
yeah,
It's not easily communicated. And obviously, if it's not easily communicated, it's not understood by the majority of people. And I don't think we should be afraid of saying where we want to go and what we want to accomplish, what we see as being the best, and putting it out there to be absorbed by everybody, critics, everybody. I don't care. But it needs to be something that can be easily understood and followed and latched onto by people that share the same vision or close to it. We don't have that. And until we have something like that, we're going to be struggling more than we should. There's always going to be struggle. If there's not struggle, I'm looking around for a problem. because struggle should be in the room with me.
Well, I'm of the opinion that Allah gave us a transition, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you know, he pointed the way. Reading Message to the Black Man, and he established that Al Islam, you know, Al Islam was the way on page 72. And Dr. C. Eric Lincoln told us that Elijah Muhammad's Nation of Islam was a proto-Islamic movement. And we see that in terms of Imam Muhammad's leadership. But I don't think we're giving it, for whatever the reasons are, we're not giving that leadership body and spirit the attention that it needs. Because he's laid out for us. I mean, from the very beginning, he started with the resurrection in the Quran. That was he put the flag down in terms of the Quran being the answer. The Quran gives us the best practices, language and strategies, but we just have to extract that. And the kind of discipline it takes for a man to say, I don't speak unless I speak from scripture. And you don't hear one Bible or Quranic verse, but he's telling us that there's a logic that's housed in scripture that will take us to where to the human excellence that we need to have established. But we don't need everybody. This is my opinion. We just need that small, what it said, let there arise out of you a group from among the bigger group. We just need a committed few. And if we would stress that, because, some of our tendencies as so-called Negroes, the old language was, foot draggers and showstoppers. That was the old language from the nation that I got when I came in DC. We just need a committed few to get this work done. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I actually think we have those people. I think they're already working.
We need better
I really,
organization, better organization.
Organization's always been big with me. Organization, not necessarily structure, organization. And by organization, I mean that an understanding of what it is that we're trying to accomplish and some idea in those small groups of how to get that done. There are certain things that you do not want me to be a part of because I have no knowledge of them.
Same here.
There are other people who are much more qualified in those areas, and you need to put those particular people in those areas to get those things done. But they need to have an understanding of that of which they're trying to accomplish. And if you can give them some idea of how that fits into the whole, it's better for them because it gives them a fuller picture of the importance of that particular task. But that in and of itself is not necessary. I would advise it, but you do need you need a blueprint. And that blueprint needs constant assessment to determine whether or not you're still best practices or if there are new ways of doing things, right?
That's where we are.
We no longer drive Model A Fords or
Yeah.
whatever it was that Henry Ford created in the beginning. We don't drive those cars anymore. We don't horse and buggy it around anymore. Improvements happen, and they happen because obviously Allah, endows certain people with that spirit of creativity and just putting their mind to something and thinking about the next best thing. It's in all of us.
I think that,
But
so sorry, go ahead.
no,
Go
sister,
ahead.
please.
Go ahead.
I want you to know that I'm forever grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for joining all of you today. These conversations have been so revealing and so strengthening to me. For example, an action. It says an intent with no action is that you never intended to achieve what you intended. And I'm listening to Adam and listening to you, Edward, and listening to you, Hamid. You have given me so much insight into why Study Al Islam is successful and why and what I can do better. Study Al Islam was created to support the infrastructure of our community. It was not created for everybody. It was created specifically to follow the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and then the leadership of Imam Wadathuddin Muhammad. The first thing I know I need to do is give Adam Biyah a date to come on Study Al Islam, to talk about the project that he's working on, and to support him, which I have not done. The second thing I need to do is to donate to the program because it does require money. But I got that. I can go on and on to tell you how you all are not giving yourselves enough credit. Just keep saying the words. Michael Hamid said, Imam Muhammad said, we need to create the language environment. Keep talking about it because the more you talk about it, the stronger it becomes. I just wanted to tell you how beneficial these conversations have been for me today. And this is the first time I've been on here, and I need to do better. I am doing, but they say the enemy of good is better. I'm doing good. I just need to continue to do good. And it is from these conversations that I have gotten the message that what I'm doing to support our community, to strengthen our infrastructure, is that I'm on the right path because that is you. I can't tell you how many times I hear when we used to do this in the Nation of Islam, when this happened
Yes,
in the Nation of Islam. Well,
yes.
then why aren't we following that? It doesn't.
Nostalgia.
I just want to thank each and every one of you that have spoke today because you have really strengthened my faith that we are doing good work in this community. We just need to recognize it. I don't think we recognize it. There's great things happen in this community, but we just need to keep talking about it and keep talking about it. And Adam, I want to encourage you to do more talking about your program and keep telling people how what you're doing is to help the schools. And I'm going to call you with a date because I've been derelict in my duty where the project that you run is concerned. So I wanted to just thank you all for this conversation because you've definitely clarified a lot in my mind.
Thank you, dear
You
Lace.
thank you. You are our goat. So everything that we
That's
do
right.
is in an effort to emulate what you continue to do. I promise you.
I second that. I agree.
So, and with that, Michael, will you close us out this morning?
Yes, sir. We make a dua. Rabbana Afrik Alaina Sabran wa tawafana Muslimin. Our Lord, pour out on us patience and constancy, sabr, and raise us up to complete our covenant, our promise to you as Muslims, true human beings. Ameen.
I mean,
I mean, everyone go have a wonderful Sunday. I love you all. Alhamdulillah.
assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.